you doing today? Good. So as you previously discussed with me, you are a rugby athlete. On average, you typically train for 90 minutes a day, resistance training in the morning, and then you have 1 hour of moderate intensity practice in the afternoon. That's correct, right? Okay. You are 22 years old and approximately 146 pounds, and you stated before that you had no medical issues or dietary restrictions, correct? Okay. So based off of the information that you have given me, for your training purposes, you're currently working out about 2.5 hours per day, with one being resistance and one being possibly more endurance training, more aerobic exercise. So in that situation, I would probably recommend a high carbohydrate diet while training. This will increase your carbohydrate availability, making it easier for you to maintain your athletic performance during your training sessions. What happens during prolonged periods of exercise is your muscle and liver glycogen stores actually begin to deplete, and when that happens, your body can no longer maintain its best performance during these training sessions. So based on your body weight and your current exercise level, I would recommend you consumed roughly 40 kcals per kilogram of body weight. So that came out to be 2640 kcals. I rounded up to about 2600, between 3000 kcals per day. That's your total energy for the entire day. And the reason that it is so high is because you do seem, you're working out 2.5 hours in a day. So these are critical nutrients to keep your energy balance in check. So for carbohydrates, like I said, you're gonna probably do a high carb meal or high carb diet. So roughly 65% of your total energy is actually gonna be coming from your carbohydrate intake. That calculated out to be about 429 to 438 grams per day, which equates to 6.5 grams per kilogram of body weight. So you're going to be doing that for carbohydrates. That's going to be your largest macronutrient coming in. Again, carbohydrates and glucose is your number one fuel source to maintain endurance and athletic abilities. Next, you're gonna have fat. Fat is another energy source, but is sort of like the second it's the second energy source that your body would dip into when carbohydrates are depleted. So in that situation, you're probably gonna have I recommend 20% of your total energy is coming from fat. You may actually consume less quantities of fat, but because fat is actually 9 kcals per gram, it will increase your total calorie intake. So in that situation, you're going to be consuming roughly 0.8 to 1 grams of kilogram per body weight, which equals out to be about 58 to 66 grams per day. And then for protein, your protein needs are going to consist of about 15% of your total energy needs, and that would be around 1.5 to 1.7 grams per kilogram of body weight. So those are sort of the numbers. I just threw a lot of numbers at you, but I'm going to sort of break it down as far as like what your meals would look like. So to start off, I did want to just add in that the recommendation for your carbohydrate intake, I personally would recommend co-ingesting glucose and fructose. The reason that this is glucose is glucose and fructose are two variations of carbohydrates. You're going to see higher quantities of glucose in, rice and bread, and fructose typically is going to be in your fruit consumption. But the reason that I would recommend doing a combination of both is because, not to get in very medical sciencey terms, but your glucose and your fructose, the combination of the two will actually increase your intestinal absorption, meaning you're going to be able to replenish those glycogen stores a lot faster. And then the second thing I wanted to mention is your greatest amount of carbohydrates are going to be consumed pre-exercise. So right before, about 4 hours before you're ready to train, you should be replenishing your endogenous glycogen stores in order to maintain that athletic ability. So my meal plan based for you is about 3 meals a day, 3 snacks a day. So your pre-exercise meal before your resistance training would include your greatest amount of carbohydrates for the day, like I stated. This is going to increase your liver and muscle glycogen stores, which is needed for you to work out. So examples of breakfast or pre-exercise meals could be whole grain toast with peanut butter, about 2 tablespoons of peanut butter per toast, and 1 medium banana sliced up, maybe placed on the toast, or you can eat it separate. I would suggest eating 2 of those for your pre-exercise meal. And another example could be like oatmeal. 1 packet is about 28 grams of oatmeal. With a banana, a medium-sized banana. The reason I keep picking banana is because it actually is one of the largest quantities of carbohydrates available in bananas. So that would be a good option for you before your exercise. Next, blueberries and peanut butter could also go into your oatmeal, and that would make a really nutrient-dense, high-carb meal. You could also do something like a smoothie or a smoothie bowl. I know those like acai bowls are really popular right now. So you could do a big smoothie bowl mixed with frozen fruit and then top it with other fruit, nut butters, and more fruit on the top if you'd like. So those are some suggestions for pre-exercise. Now, because your resistance training is 90 minutes, which is an hour and a half, you could be depleting your glycogen stores. So at that point, I probably would recommend to you taking or consuming a high carbohydrate snack like in between that time. So a good example of that could be like a Lara bar. I don't know if you've heard of them. They're raw fruit and nut bars. Those are a great source because it's going to provide you with carbohydrates and as well as some fat sources. And like I said, fat is a great additional secondhand energy source for when your glycogen stores have really depleted. Another option would be a banana. Like I said earlier, bananas are very high in carbohydrates. Or you could do something as easy as like rice cakes with peanut butter. Those are just options that I wrote down as quick energy sources for in between your resistance training exercise. So that would be a good option for that. And then for lunch or your midday meal, which would be in between your resistance training and your hour-long endurance training later in the afternoon, I would recommend consuming moderate carbohydrates to replenish your diminished stores, and protein to really promote muscle synthesis, because resistance training, you really just went ahead and broke down all those muscle fibers. So consuming a good quality protein meal post resistance training will promote muscle synthesis and rebuilding of those muscles. Also, additionally, I would have fat as an energy source coming in just to, like I said, provide that second-hand energy. So one option that I wrote for this, you can do a lot of different variations of this, is the Buddha Bowl. It consists of like greens, so spinach or kale, protein source. If you're a vegetarian, there's so many options for you. You could do chickpeas or beans or tofu, or you could do just chicken if you're not vegetarian. And then certain grains such as brown rice or quinoa, and then a fat source. So you could do nuts on the top, like almonds, cashews, peanuts, walnuts, whatever, or an avocado. So that would be a great like midday source of energy coming in. And then after your second workout, which lasts about 1 hour, you said, a post-exercise meal would be kind of like a quick, high energy quality protein source. So some suggestions that I thought of were maybe 2 hard-boiled eggs, because those are very high in protein, about 12 grams of protein for those 2 eggs. You could do something as easy as like turkey rolled up and just snack on that. You could do that, and that equates to about 24 grams of protein. Or you could do, and additionally, you could do like a cheese stick on the side. That would just really increase your protein intake for after your workout. And then for dinner later in the day, I would suggest moderate carbohydrates and protein and fat. So kind of just your well-balanced, nutrient-dense meal. Some options for that could be something like fish tacos. You could do, which would consist of 4 ounces of fish, cabbage, avocado, diced tomato. You could really modify it to your own liking. And then on the side, maybe some rice. I suggested probably 2 of those just to increase your calories. 1 would probably not be enough for you. Another option would be salmon, quinoa, sweet potato, broccoli. That would be a great meal for you as well. Has roughly 100 grams of carbohydrates, 26 grams of fat, and 56 grams of protein. And then lastly, for your last snack of the day, I would recommend a post-dinner snack closer to bedtime. And research has showed that casein protein, which is your slow digesting protein that is found in your dairy products, is actually really excellent to consume before bed because it is slow digesting. So it will maintain your satiety or your fullness, but it will promote an increase in muscle synthesis through the night and also improve your glycogen stores. So options for that could just be a glass of milk, 8 ounces of milk with some cereal, or 1 cup of kefir, or Greek yogurt plain, about 8 ounces. So that's what I would suggest personally for you. There's a lot of variation within these meals. And you can, some of the snacks you can add double in just to make sure that you're meeting your calorie requirement. But in particular, we're really concerned or really focusing on your carbohydrate intake. So does that sound reasonable to you, sustainable, something that you think you would be able to maintain? Okay, good. Great.